Okay, picture this. Billions of cicadas bursting from the ground after, what, 13 or 17 years, ready for their big moment. But then, some of them, well, some are different. Their entire lower half, the abdomen, their reproductive bits, it's just gone, replaced by this weird, chalky, white fungal plug.
Yeah, it's pretty startling stuff.
And the craziest part, they're still alive, still
Yeah.
flying around, singing even, but they've become these hypersexual infection machines, trying to mate with everything that moves, spreading this fungus like some kind of nightmare STD.
It really does sound like something out of a horror movie, but it's completely real. We're talking about the Massospora fungus. It's an entomopathogen, meaning it infects insects, specifically cicadas, and its whole deal is hijacking them. It consumes their insides, but keeps them mobile, keeps them weirdly active, even social.
And that activity, as we found in the sources, it's chemically driven. These things are literally flying high on, well, illegal drugs, amphetamines and psychedelics. So today our mission is a deep dive into the sources you shared with us to try and understand the truly bizarre biology behind these sex-crazed, drugged-up, flying salt shakers of death. Before we really get into it, though, if you enjoy these kinds of explorations into the weird corners of science, please do like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. It really helps us out. And definitely drop your suggestions for future topics in the comments. Also, check the show notes. We've got links to resources and books we mentioned. All right, let's start with the physical aspect, the sheer body horror of it. The sources describe the fungus just completely eating away the cicada's internal tissues, the back end segments.
Yeah, the terminal segments, which critically includes the genitalia. That whole section just kind of slews off, fall away. And the fungus fills that space, that cavity, with this dense white or yellowish mass of spores. It looks like a plug, really, which is where that nickname comes from, the flying salt shaker of death. As it flies, spores just sprinkle out.
It's gruesome. But there's a twisted logic to it, isn't there? Why keep it alive in that state?
Exactly. There's an evolutionary reason. It's called active host transmission, AHT. See, most fungi that infect insects, they kill the host pretty quickly. Then they produce spores from the corpse, relying on wind or gravity. Kind of passive.
Okay.
But Massospora does the opposite. It actively keeps the cicada alive, mobile, and interacting.
Seems risky, though, keeping your spore factory flying around where it could get eaten or just fall apart.
It is a risk, but the payoff is huge for the fungus. It means targeted dispersal. The infected cicada becomes this super efficient delivery system, actively seeking out healthy cicadas and dusting them with spores during attempted mating or close contact. Direct delivery beats passive sprinkling, evolutionarily speaking in this case. Ah, okay, so that's the big difference compared to, like, the zombie ant fungus, Ophiocordyceps, that everyone knows from documentaries.
Precisely. Think about the Ophiocordyceps strategy. It controls the ant, makes it climb up, bite down on a leaf in a specific spot. The death grip then kills it. A stalk grows out, spores rain down. It's a fixed position, a one-way trip for the ant.
Like a sniper.
Yeah, good analogy. Whereas Massospora is running this, I don't know, diseased singles mixer. It needs the host alive, moving, socializing, especially trying to mate. It's all about live host transmission.
Both involve manipulation, but Massospora's game is much more social, much more active.
And think about the timing. This fungus has to sync up perfectly with cicadas that spend sometimes 17 years underground as nymphs. It survives all that time as these super tough, resting spores in the soil, waiting. Then when the cicadas emerge, boom, infection.
But the initial infection rate is low, right? Like only a few percent. That's right, maybe 2 to 5% initially. But that's enough. That first wave of infected salt shakers becomes the amplifiers, spreading it rapidly through the rest of the population via that relentless socializing.
Which brings us straight to the behavior. This isn't just physical damage, it's mind control. The sources call them single-minded sex machines.
Yeah, they lose all of their priorities. They just try to mate constantly. With any cicada they bump into, male or female, doesn't matter that their own reproductive organs are gone.
And that's how it spreads, like an SPD.
Primarily, yes. That constant contact during futile mating attempts is perfect for transferring spores. But the fungus gets even sneakier. The manipulation goes deeper.
You're talking about the gender bending thing. And that part just blew my mind when I read about it.
It's absolutely wild. Okay, so normally healthy male cicadas sing to attract females. A receptive female responds with a specific wing flick. Healthy males never do that wing flick.
Got it. Males sing, females flick.
Right. But Massospora hijacks this. Infected males start performing the female wing flick signal when they hear a healthy male singing nearby.
No way. So they're pretending to be females.
Exactly. It's pure deception. This lures in healthy, unsuspecting males who think they've found a mate. They approach, try to initiate mating.
And bam, they get a face full of spores instead of a partner.
Precisely. It dramatically increases the number of potential victims, tricking males into contacting infected males. It's a brilliant, if disturbing, strategy.
What kills me is the timing detail the sources mention. The fungus isn't always making them do this, is it?
No. And that's maybe the most sophisticated part, this wing flick mimicry. It only happens during stage I of the infection when the fungus is producing the easily transmissible spores, the conidia.
So only when it benefits the fungus's immediate spread.
Correct. Later, when the fungus shifts to making stage 2 resting spores, the ones meant to survive long-term in the soil, the infected cicadas stop doing the deceptive wing flick. The fungus is actively switching the host's behavior on and off to match its own reproductive cycle. It's targeted manipulation, not just random sickness.
Okay, controlling behavior is one thing, but how? That leads us to the really shocking part, the chemical arsenal. These cicadas are drugged.
They really are, and it gets even weirder because the type of drug depends on the cicada species. For the periodical cicadas, the 13 and 17-year ones infected by Massospora cicadina, the fungus produces cathinone.
Cathinone, isn't that the stimulant found in the cot plant? Like chemically related to amphetamines?
That's the one, a potent stimulant known for increasing energy, wakefulness, and sometimes euphoria or aggression in humans.
Okay, wow. But what about the other cicadas, the annual ones?
Right, so for annual cicadas infected by different Massospora species like M. platypedie or M. laevispora, it's a completely different compound, psilocybin.
Wait, psilocybin as in magic mushrooms? Hallucinogens?
The very same. This was actually the first time psilocybin had ever been found produced in relation to an insect.
That is absolutely staggering. The fungus evolved 2 distinct drug factories, depending on whether its host lives for 17 years or just 1 summer.
It suggests an incredibly specific co-evolutionary path. The fungus is tailoring its chemical toolkit to the host. It's remarkable.
So why? What's the thinking behind dosing them with these specific drugs?
Well, the hypotheses focus on maximizing spore spread. For cathinone, the stimulant.
It basically turns them into hyperactive speed freaks, right? Go, 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 mate, mate.
That's the idea. Suppress appetite, keep them awake longer, drive that locomotion and hypersexuality. Focus them entirely on spreading spores, ignoring normal needs like food or rest.
Makes a grim kind of sense. What about the psilocybin, the psychedelic? Why make your host trip?
That one's a bit more speculative. Perhaps it induces a state where the cicada is less aware of its horrific injuries, missing its entire abdomen. Or maybe it reduces normal inhibitions, making it pursue mating attempts even more relentlessly, overriding any natural caution or stopping cues. Keeps them going despite the physical catastrophe.
The researchers who found this must have been stunned. I read they actually had to notify the DEA.
They did, because both cathinone and psilocybin are Schedule I controlled substances in the U.S. It's not every day your insect fungus research requires a call to federal drug enforcement. It highlights how unexpected this was.
Okay, so they found the drugs, but then came the big twist, right? The biosynthesis paradox.
Ah, yes. This is where it gets truly mysterious. When they sequenced the Massospora genome, they looked for the genes that other organisms use to make these chemicals, like the genes mushrooms use for psilocybin or plants for cathinone precursors. They weren't there. The standard known genetic pathways, the blueprints for making these drugs, completely missing in Massospora.
So, how is it making them? If it doesn't have the known instruction manual?
That is the million-dollar question right now. Hypothesis 1 is, well, it must have evolved entirely new, unknown biochemical pathways to synthesize these complex molecules, which would be a massive discovery on its own.
A completely novel way to make drugs.
Or Hypothesis 2, which is maybe even more intriguing, it's somehow using the cicada itself.
Like hijacking the host's chemistry lab.
Kind of. Maybe it's collaborating with bacteria living inside the cicada, the microbiome. Or perhaps it's manipulating the cicada's own metabolic pathways, tweaking them to produce the drugs, maybe just adding the final step. The fact that the drug changes depending on the host species kind of lends weight to the idea that the host's biology is involved in the production somehow. It's a huge puzzle.
And there's still some debate, isn't there, about whether the drugs are solely responsible for the hypersexuality or if the physical damage itself plays a role.
That's a fair point. Correlation isn't always causation. Losing your entire reproductive system is bound to mess with hormones and behavior. That physical trauma, the sterilization, could contribute to some of the frenzy. But the specific complex behaviors like the timed, gender-bending wing flick, that seems too targeted to be just a side effect of injury. That strongly suggests active chemical manipulation is the primary driver, especially for those nuanced behaviors.
Right. Okay, before we wrap this up, we need to state something really clearly, something important for anyone listening.
Absolutely. Despite all this talk of psychedelics and stimulants, do not eat these zombie cicadas, seriously.
Yeah, we know it might sound tempting or weirdly interesting, but it's a terrible idea. The amount of psychoactive compound in any single cicada is incredibly tiny.
You'd have to eat hundreds, maybe thousands, to potentially feel any effect. And long, long before you got anywhere near that, you'd make yourself incredibly sick. Remember, that fungal plug isn't just pure drug. It contains over 1,000 other compounds produced by the fungus, many uncharacterized and potentially toxic. You'd likely poison yourself first.
Plus, while the fungus Massospora can't infect humans, eating diseased insects filled with unknown fungal chemicals is just extremely dangerous. Please admire them from a distance. Leave them be.
Okay, so just to recap this wild journey, we've looked at Massospora's strategy of active host transmission, keeping the cicada alive as a mobile spore dispenser. We explored the behavioral hijacking, the hypersexuality, and that incredible gender-bending wing flick trick to fool healthy males. And of course, the discovery of cathinone and psilocybin, powerful psychoactive drugs used by the fungus, apparently tailored to the specific cicada host.
It really does blur the lines, doesn't it, between a parasite, a host, and, well, a controlled substance manufacturer. It's turned this insect into a decaying, drugged-out vector for its own destruction. An amazing, if terrifying, evolutionary outcome.
Absolutely. And the biggest takeaway for me is how much we still don't know, especially with that biosynthesis mystery. How is it making those drugs? And that makes you wonder, doesn't it? If this one fungus can exert such profound chemical control over an insect's mind and behavior, what other, maybe more subtle influences could microbes be having on their hosts? On any animal, even potentially on us? That's something to think about.
Definitely food for thought. Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of zombie cicadas. We'll catch you next time.